William Wallace is a name etched into the annals of Scottish history, and this historical figure has captivated the imagination of scholars and historians for centuries now. Recognized as one of the most predominant and critical figures in Scotland's struggle for independence, Wallace would rise from relative obscurity to becoming a symbol of defiance against English oppression and rule. However, although his life was defined by courage, bravery, and an unyielding spirit, his death was marked by unspeakable brutality and needless cruelty. William Wallace would be captured by English forces in 1305, and thereafter, he would be subjected to one of the most brutal and gruesome executions in medieval history, with a death designed specifically to break both his body and the spirit of the Scottish rebellion. But what were the events that led to this tragic end? How did a man hailed as a hero to the Scots and a traitor to the English meet his grisly fate? By delving into the chronicles and accounts of the time, we will unravel the circumstances surrounding Wallace's death and explore how it shaped his enduring legacy as Scotland's most iconic freedom fighter. But before we begin, don't forget, if you want to learn more about the deaths of some of history's greatest figures, then subscribe to my channel, Historical Exit. When discussing the death of William Wallace, there are at least 3 contemporary or near contemporary sources which make reference to his execution at the age of 35 on August 23, 1305 in the city of London. After a harrowing defeat against English forces at the Battle of Falkirk in 1298, William Wallace would lose much of his military prestige and would be forced to live on the outskirts of society as a wanted fugitive and vagabond. William Wallace would continue to stoke the flames of rebellion as best as he could, but his power and influence would be extremely restricted during this time. Although William Wallace was no longer as influential as he once may have been, he was still a rebel that the English were desperate to capture, and contemporary English historian Peter Langtoft purports that Wallace was betrayed by his servant Jack Short, who shared the whereabouts of his location with Scottish Baron John de Menteith, an English loyalist who would capture William Wallace in early August 1305. Wallace would then be transported to London, where he would be tried and found guilty of treason and other war crimes, as it was found that his rebellion had killed many civilians, sparing neither age nor sex, monk nor nun, were one such allegation made against Wallace. William Wallace would be sentenced to a traitor's death on August 23, 1305, where he would be executed by the horrific method of hanging, drawing, and quartering. This representation is present in several contemporary English sources, such as the Lanercost Chronicles, which states that William Wallace was captured by the treachery of Sir John Menteith. He was taken to London, where he was condemned to a most cruel death. He was first dragged by horses through the streets of London, then hanged, drawn, and quartered. It can be recognized here that even this English historical text asserts that the death of William Wallace was regarded as being exceptionally cruel, even by those who held no sympathy or remorse for him or his cause. Wallace's execution would begin by having him dragged to the place of execution by a horse, after which he would be hanged till near death. This would then be followed by Wallace being forced to endure the horrific practice of emasculation, which would result in the genitals of the Scottish rebel being painfully removed. This horrific torture would not end there though, as Wallace would then be disemboweled, which is a horrific process in which the belly of the individual is cut open and the organs lining the gastrointestinal tract would be pulled out and then burned. All this torture was done specifically with the intention of inflicting as much pain as possible to the individual, but also ensuring that they would be alive throughout the entire ordeal. And such was the case for William Wallace, who would not pass away until the final step of this horrible execution, which would be death at long last by beheading. This death by hanging, drawing, and quartering discourse is also further corroborated by the 14th century historical text, the Chronicle of Walter of Guisborough, who states that on the 8th of St. Bartholomew, William Wallace, who had been captured in Scotland, was led to Westminster, where he was arraigned and found guilty of treason. He was executed with the harshest penalties, dragged on a hurdle, hanged until half dead, then emasculated, disemboweled, beheaded, and quartered. Again, the brutality and harshness of such a painful method of death is commented upon in this historical text, which highlights just how excessive even medieval historians found this execution to be. It also needs to be stated that the desecration of William Wallace's body did not end with his beheading. As the final part of this execution, quartering still needs to be discussed. Quartering is the step that follows immediately after the beheading takes place, and during this phase the body of the dead is split, usually into 4 pieces, and placed on display in public venues to highlight just how deadly and painful the consequences of rebellion and treason could be. Medieval historian Sir Thomas Gray also highlights that the quartering of William Wallace was given an extra layer of degradation, as the 4 parts of Wallace's body were sent across the realm, including Scotland, to highlight that the figurehead of the Scottish rebellion had been defeated at long last. But to add further insult to injury, his head was dipped in tar, placed on a spike, and displayed on London Bridge for all to see what would happen to those who plotted treason against English rule. The Scala Chronica by Sir Thomas Gray states that his head was set on London Bridge and his quarters distributed through the realm. Therefore, it can be stated as a definitive fact that William Wallace was executed by being hanged, drawn, and quartered, a death so brutal and cruel that even English historians could not refrain from commenting on the excessive level of cruelty displayed by such a horrific method of execution. In this video, we have reviewed 3 contemporary sources: the Lanark Cost Chronicles, the Chronicle of Walter of Guisborough, and the Scala Chronica, all of which confirm that William Wallace was indeed brutally tortured and executed in London, England during the year 1305. Although that was the year when Wallace's life would come to an end, his legacy would continue to flourish throughout the centuries, and William Wallace is revered as a national hero in Scotland even to this day. So I really hope you found this video to be educational, and if you did enjoy it, please do like and share this video with others. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel Historical Exit so you can find out more about the deaths of some of history's greatest figures. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.